Hey, what's up? It's Michael. Yo, welcome to the Yo Show. I just want to say thank you for watching my comedy special on YouTube. Over 140,000. That's right. What was crazy is a month before the special came out, I only got 50,000 plays on my YouTube page. Now it's over 6 million.
Nice.
I've got 29,000 subscribers.
Nice.
From 4,000. Wow. So everything's moving. I got close to 35,000 total subscribers. So thank you for watching it. But today, you know how the podcast works. These are quick. I do them 30 to 40 minutes, and I have people I really love on the show. And this dude, he's wearing the shirt right now. To me, he's a legend. I always call him a legend because he's just so great on stage. You're so natural on stage.
Thank you,
the crowd loves you. What I love is you can do every impression, but you don't rely on it as a crutch when I see you. Right. Dean Edwards, how are you, man?
I'm chilling. Yo, in the building. Congratulations, man, on the special. Doing well. You love seeing, because I know how much time, energy, and effort you put into it, and you put it out. That, to me, what's most impressive is you're not backed by a big streamer. You're not backed by some big conglomerate cable network. This is all you. And so you reap the benefits. All the energy you put into it, you're reaping the benefits, and those are all your accolades, man.
Can I tell you what's so gratifying? Kind of what you said is I own it. So I own the video. I own every piece of it. And in my mind, I was like, I'm going to do 120,000 views for a year, 10,000 a month. I would be happy. That changes the game in ticket sales in certain markets, you know? Just that little. I mean, it's not little, but it's 120,000 people that watch. To get that in less than a month, and now it's growing, and it feels good and scary at the same time. When you put something out, you don't know if people are going to like it. And you're just hoping when you put it on YouTube, I only have 3,000 followers.
Right.
So you're hoping people just find it, right?
Right.
And then to read the comments, it's beautiful. But this is not about me. This is about you, Dean. SNL, former SNL. When were you on SNL? Who was on the show at that time?
I did 2 seasons, 01 to 03. First day of work was supposed to be September 11, 2001. And my cast, or my castmates, you had Will Ferrell, Jimmy Fallon, Tina Fey, Tracy Morgan, Chris Kattan, who else? Horatio Sands, Maya Rudolph, Rachel Dratch, Chris Parnell came back at the end of the season. My class, I started with Amy Poehler, Seth Meyers, and Jeff Richards. I'm missing probably 1 or 2 castmates.
How look, the environment.
Anna Gasteyer.
I've heard different things. I've heard the show is so stressful because every week you put it under a microscope and basically it's no's every week, unless you're one of the famous cast members that break through or something like that.
But even still, like, I mean, one of the funniest sketches you'll ever see from my first season was Will Ferrell penned script sketch called The Old Prospector. It got cut after dress rehearsal, but fortunately they shot it at dress rehearsal, so it became part of Will Ferrell's best of DVD number 2, and is, man, one of the funniest sketch I think I might have ever been part of, that every cast member broke character and laughed, and that's why it was so fun. And I think that might have been part of the reason. I think part of the reason it got cut, and I could be wrong, was because none of us could keep it together, and Will was like playing on that. Because it was Gus Chicken, CHIGGNS Chickens, and he jangled all these cans. But also the guest host and musical guest that week was Britney Spears. She was pulling a double, and she wasn't in the sketch. And I get it. If I'm producing the show, I'm like, all right, if I'm Lauren Michaels and we have Britney Spears, we want to put her to work, and then if she's not working, it gets cut. And that's my point. Will was the star of the show. Will was like, when Will left, I remember producers telling me that in my second season, Will had left after my first season to go on to his film career, and he was shooting Old School while we were on. And he took 1 million viewers with him because he was the star, you know, he was a star, and we all kind of, you know, were featured around what Will could do, and everybody else obviously had their talents and skill set as well. But Will was that dude.
So now correct me if I'm wrong, but I heard like every writer, like you and every other person on the show, you write skits to try to get on SNL.
Sketches,
sketches. So I would imagine if I were you, I would be trying to put Will in all my sketches because he's the biggest star on that show.
Yeah, so you actually do. That's one of you learn, and that's the other thing. When you start there as a stand-up, you're at a disadvantage because you didn't come through the Second City, you didn't come through Groundlings, you didn't come through UCB, and if you come through any of those sort of factories of comedy, then you're already aligned with people, right? Tina Fey, when Tina started as a writer on the show, Rachel Dretsch was cast member, and she and Tina had done a show together with Second City, you know. A lot of cats, I think Will, Maya, and Anna were Groundlings, and so you're starting, and you have a relationship. Hey, Bug man, we doing something. So you're aligned with someone. You stand up and you don't know anyone. Like I was there. The other stand-ups on the show, myself and Jeff Richards, Tracy Morgan, and Daryl Hammond. And so we're all sort of figuring it out and fending for ourselves. And you're doing what you can to figure it out, but you don't necessarily have someone that's
that Bug does not want to leave you alone.
Bug is
He's a fan. He's a fan.
Hey, Bug,
he's like, I saw you on SNL.
Legend. And so you wind up at a disadvantage, and you do that. You wind up writing things, and you're like, here, let me. But it's also
because you want to shine at the same time.
But it's so telegraphed, and you'll write a sketch, and if the sketch is good, if the sketch gets laughs at the table read, and you wrote it, and Will is part of the sketch, that's great, right? Because then he's going to want to do it. But if you're on Tuesday night, right night. If you're hoping to get Will's ear and he's already working on,
his own thing,
salty balls or whatever the sketch was with Anna and the lovers with Rachel, he has 2 or 3 people he's already paired off doing things with. So you attempting to get his attention is tough. You know, and I've done that. I learned for me, like the first thing I ever got on the air was Weekend Update piece where I was playing Denzel Washington and Maya Rudolph was playing Halle Berry right after they won the Oscars. When I wrote that sketch, I watched the Oscars. I started like running the gig in my head as it happened, because there's something funny there about Halle constantly crying and things. She's like, I want to thank my mother and Hattie McDaniel. And so I was like, what if she just starts thanking any black woman that's ever been on TV? The Pine Sol lady, Esther Rose from Good Times, you go, girl. And so I wrote it with my writing partner, Mark Theobald. And then I said, you know what, I'm going to bring it to Tina. Right, this is another way like you align yourself. I was like, you know what, if I write this update piece, instead of just writing it and blindly putting it into the packet on Tuesday night, let me see if I can get Tina aligned with it. So I caught Tina in the hallway and I started just pitching it. And
Tina was Tina at that time.
At that point, Tina is co-head writer and co-anchor of Weekend Update. So she's someone you want to partner with if you can get her on your team. And so I started pitching her, and she started tagging. She's like started like adding names to the list, and I was like, all right, boom, I think I got her. And that was the first thing. I'd written other things that made it to dress rehearsal.
So how many no's did you get before you got that yes? How long were you at SNL?
At that point, I was on from, like, you start in August. Like I got hired in July. We met like the other new cast members and writers and new writers in August, and we started. Obviously, we were
September,
but we started. So our first episode was September 27th, 2001. That sketch, that update piece, didn't get on the air until February, March.
Oh yeah, that's when the Oscars are.
Yeah. So
Wow.
it took me a couple months. Yeah, I had been in other things.
Okay.
I had been in other sketches. I had a couple of pieces that I had written that made it to dress rehearsal, that made it to the live show, but got cut for time. I had a couple of those you ever watch SNL? Yeah, here's a little tidbit of information. If you ever watch Saturday Night Live, and at the end of the show you see, like, say, Chris Red or Keenan, they're waving at the end, and you're like, why is Keenan dressed like a piece of toast, right? But you didn't see it. That's because he got dressed and they were getting ready to do the sketch, but at the last minute, stage manager made an announcement while they're in makeup. They're like, we're gonna cut and go straight to a commercial parody that's already in the can. And so you don't have enough time to change, so you just go out and you're just waving in this weird costume.
Okay, so I know, like, when you do a new joke, like in a set, you're surrounded by your good jokes. A lot of people. Yeah. But on SNL, is there a method to the madness? Is it all strong and then gets weaker, or is it weaker, stronger? Like, does it alternate?
Yes and no. I mean, from what this is not This is mere opinion.
No, your opinion, yes.
But in my opinion, yeah, they're going to start with so
you start to open with a strong bit.
You open strong. The cold open is totally separate from the rest of the show, right? You have the cold open, and then you'll have your strongest lineup between 11. Because by the time you do the cold open and the host monologue, you're probably around 11:40. Right? It starts at 11:30. Show starts at 11:30.
Well, you're like 11:45 now.
So so your first sketch is not getting on until around 11:40, 11:45. Yeah. And you might get 3 sketches in before Weekend Update, maybe 4, because Weekend Update.
And they want to start with the biggest stars of the show in those first sketches.
All of that.
All of it. Okay, gotcha.
And unless your sketch is so fire that it's undeniable, and every so often that'll happen, and then after Weekend Update and you have the musical guest perform, now you have sort of that limbo where you don't know what you're gonna get. You know, you might have a banger, you might have something that dips.
You might have something pre-recorded thing.
You're gonna have pre-records. You're gonna have something that starts strong but ends weak, and because people always come up, they're like, man, I don't really watch, but when I watch, man, that show, it's like the sketches go on too long. What people have to understand is, because people compare, right? We're taught to compare, like, oh, well, this is better than. And so people will say, that's why I liked In Living Color, Man TV, Chappelle's Show, because their sketches are short and quick. Yeah, but they're not live. When you're doing a live television show, you have to fill in that time, right? And so a sketch might have been 5 minutes at the dress rehearsal, maybe 6 minutes at the dress rehearsal, and it was killer. But when it goes to the live show, they might say, we got to trim 90 seconds off. So now, and that's what's so amazing about the show and the writers, is that they're constantly editing and taking out cue cards and rewriting cue cards. And so now some of that funny is naturally going to get lost because you're losing context in whatever the story that sketch was telling. And it's funny initially, but then if it's one note, it might not maintain the same integrity of the jokes throughout the sketch.
I always wonder, because I think the people that make SNL are so talented, no matter who they are. But to watch and see a bit fail on TV, and it just continues to get worse and worse. Right. I was like, what is it, like a stand-up bombing on stage? Is it the same fit? And I don't know if you've been in a bit like that, but I'm sure you've seen it and heard other actors talk about it. But it feels like, oh, this is just getting worse and worse and worse, and nobody is laughing at it.
I think at that point, if you're one of the cast members in a sketch that's tanking, it becomes funnier. Okay. It becomes funnier to you because it's not working the way it worked at the because again, things might crush at the tape. It crushed all week. I had that happen to me.
Because it's being presented to comics that get jokes. Like a normal audience a lot of time doesn't get the same thing. Because there's a comics comic, and then there's a mainstream comic. It's two different things a lot of times.
Well, let me for instance, we did the summer after my first season, Wayne Brady's show premiered on in syndication, his daytime talk show.
Yeah.
And so I ran into Tina in the hallway. We started goofing on, because what was funny about Wayne Brady's show is that every time people came on, you're so talented, you're such a great singer, you're such a great dancer, and he was a triple threat and everything. He was like, I'm just so warm and fuzzy, you know. And so T and I, we were clouding him. She wrote a sketch, this big production value sketch. And it was during the dress rehearsal show, and it crushed at the table read, because we all knew Wayne Brady. We were laughing at how the world was responding to him, and how safe he was, right? And
can I say something before you even say?
Yeah.
I don't think Wayne Brady was that known. Like, he's not mainstream though.
Well, so again, but his show was a big. When his daytime talk show started at that particular time, this dude wound up winning, I think, two daytime Emmys. Got you. So his show really splashed. It was a big in the era of Rosie O'Donnell and like those early years of Ellen. I don't know if Ellen had started yet. I don't think her daytime show had started. And we did this sketch and crushed it at the table read, crushed it during blocking, crushed it on Saturday during rehearsals, got it to dress rehearsal at 8 o'clock, and it went up. It was early. It was like it was the first sketch that would have been after the commercial break.
Oh, so that's a killer spot too. Really?
Yeah, the world didn't, the audience which represented the world didn't get the joke yet. I think if we had done that sketch a year later, because at that point he was Wayne Brady, it would have worked. But because we did it when we did, people were like,
So what is the feeling after that?
Well, if you're to start a sketch, it's such.
Oh, you were it?
I was Wayne Brady.
Oh,
I was Wayne Brady, and dude, I was in my mind. I was like, you know, Eddie Murphy has returned. This is gonna be a recurring character, and nothing. And then we even did it. As a matter of fact, I think we tried it one more time. And it didn't work, and because people have to connect with the material, you know. It wasn't that it wasn't funny; it's just people weren't rocking with it,
and they weren't there yet.
They weren't there yet, and so. And I was selling it, dog. I was like,
so how long was this?
Don't film it now. You know,
so you were dancing.
I was doing everything I could to make that joint pop, and nothing. And after the sketch, you don't have time. That's the funny thing about working at SNL. You don't have time to cry about it, because if you're in other things at night, you gotta. I gotta prepare for the next thing. So that's the thing about SNL. It's so quick. And I remember Tracy said, yes, he was like, SNL's a microcosm of Hollywood. He was like, you don't have time to cry. You gotta lick your wounds and keep it moving. And so that's what you did. You know, obviously later on at the after party, you're like, damn, I really thought this was gonna crush. But and everybody,
and the cast members are like, yeah, man, we thought it was gonna crush.
Yeah, you know, yeah. And there's nothing, and they can't really spend too much time offering to help commiserate, because this pissed off that they weren't maybe in as many sketches that week, or they're frustrated their sketch got cut, or they got cut for time. There's so many variables that affect the psychology of the performers and the writers on the show, because you're constantly, I think it was either Molly Shannon or Sherry O'Terry said it best. They said it's the only show in Hollywood that you book that you constantly have to audition for every
single week. Yeah, that's I had an unknown friend. I'm not gonna say his name, but he was on it, and he was on it for just a year.
Okay.
Got nosed for the whole, and he was such in a bad place after.
Yeah, it's
like it destroyed. Like if you don't break through, because a lot of people get hired and then you never hear them.
Yeah. I mean, some people would say that about me. Like to this day, I have people come up there like, yeah, man, I thought you were gonna do it. I was like, I did too. You know, but
what is that phone, if you don't mind, what is that phone call like when you find out you're not on it? Does Lauren pull you into the?
No. They shoot. It was I kind of knew. The time might have been number, because you know, first season you were booked for the entire season. Second season they did this weird thing where your contract was for half the season, and then they were like extending every few weeks. And look, I was in the military, and so I know that psychological game. I get it, right? I get that.
Yeah.
And I was fine most of it, but then there was a point where, it hits you because you're like, yo, I'm doing everything. I remember one time a sketch that I had written crushed. And I was like, you know what? This is going. And I almost want to say it was De Niro came. It was De Niro and Norah Jones. And then, and I just knew this weekend update piece was going because it was the only update piece that was in the packet for the table read. Because everybody wanted to get in something with De Niro. And I was like, and at that point, I was like, you know what? Play to your strengths. You're the black dude. If they're writing anything with someone black in a sketch, is going to go to Tracy. Right? That's the hierarchy. They're going to go with the alpha Negro. And so I was like, let me just write this update piece. It was about Michael Jackson dangling the baby. Yeah. I had a really good MJ impression. It did real well at update during dress, and it didn't make it. And I remember
it didn't make it to the live show.
It didn't make it to the live show, and I remember.
But why would they cut a piece in the middle of the show?
Well, so what happens? So you do the dress rehearsal show is all. I always tell people, if you get tickets, if you want to go to the show, go to the dress show because you're getting a better show. You're getting more show, right? So the dress rehearsal show starts at 8, and sometimes will run as late as 10:30. Right, so you're getting 2.5 hours of show because there are more sketches, and all of the sketches are vying for position in the live show. Right, so live show is only 90 minutes from 11:30 p.m. to 1 o'clock a.m. The dress rehearsal show is from 8 p.m. to maybe 10, maybe 10:30. You're working out the kinks, you're trimming the fat. And so in between the shows, Lauren has an office that overlooks Studio 8H, one story up. We all go and crowd into his office, and you see the board, like any other TV show production. You see the board and you see like these bricks. You see the lineup of the sketches that are going, and then you see what's not going is just on the side, just laying, And I saw MJ wasn't going. And I remember I went back to my dressing room, and I said, if I close my door, people are going to think I'm sitting in here sulking. If I leave it open, I got to deal with everyone walking by like, And then I said, you know what? I said, you're human, man. And I closed the door. And I remember Andrea, who's the head of Makeup Sister, beautiful, sweet woman, and she knocked on the door, opened the door. She was like, "You all right?" I said, honestly, nah. I said, I'm not. I said, because I'm doing. I said, it did well, and it's not going. I said, at this point, I don't know what to do. And then she was very gracious, and she said, you know what? I used to go through this with Tim Meadows. I used to go with this with Chris Rock, and so that at least made me say, all right, it's not just me. And yeah, that's the nature of the beast. And I've never had anything negative to say about the place, because I'm like, you know what, that still opens doors and opportunities. I don't come from a place of privilege where I feel like I can just piss on that opportunity. I'm like, yo, you know what? It was called. It's cool. The show is Saturday Night Live featuring Dean Edwards, not Dean Edwards show featuring the SNL. You know, so when it didn't move on, I was like, all right, I wanted to. Yeah. What the show does now, which I appreciate, and I just had a conversation with my man Alex English. He writes on the show now. I said, you know what, y'all actually are in a better place. I said, I think there are 4 or 5 cast members of color. Yeah, you're not competing for just one of them to get the bit. They're actually putting them together. They've like Keenan and Chris Redd always together on that show. Right. And I think what the show learned and what Hollywood has learned, again, it's a microcosm, right? Over the course of the show's history, they've realized, you know what, we can have more than one blackface on camera at the same time and not be considered an urban show. That's the problem, is that I was talking to
she's a legend in the business. Like everybody would know her name, but that's why I don't want to say it.
Of
but
course.
we were talking about when she came up in the 80s and 90s that
So
they
Whoopi
would
Goldberg. No, I'm
they
just
would get
playing.
paid. Like she wrote and produced shows. They would get paid extra money if they could work a black person into the show. That's how it was. Just one.
Wow.
And she goes, and then if you got the wrong black person in the show, the network, now the network would never say this, but this was a unwritten,
Right.
they didn't want to make it an urban show because
Right.
there was one black person
Right,
in it.
right.
And she goes, she's so happy it's changing now.
Yeah.
To a point where I think SNL is kind of ahead of normal television. You know, so is, what's the name that writes Grey's Anatomy? Shonda Rhimes.
Yeah.
Like, I love how she puts out castings and doesn't put any color on.
Right,
It's
right.
like whoever's the best or
Right.
whoever fits,
Right.
I'm a book. And I think that's where things are going. And I always say this in a podcast, and people that have seen this podcast, excuse me, but we've come a long way. When I was growing up, I didn't see couples of color together. I mean,
Right,
interracial couples.
Right.
Because it only legalized in 1967.
Right.
Now it's the thing to have a TV show.
Right,
You know, and
yeah.
I think you're going to see more of it. It's the thing in commercials right now.
Definitely.
From commercials-
you never like. That's funny you say that because my daughters actually, one of them, she actually said, she was like, so now there are no black couples on TV. Like now, like they
Yeah.
go on the extreme. Where every couple in commercials on TV is an interracial, usually black male, white or other female, or
I've seen a white guy and a black woman.
Yeah, you'll
before.
get that every so
or
often.
Or the black, she's mixed black. You know,
Right.
she's ambiguous like me.
Right. The ambiguous.
So no. It's swung one way to the other, but at least the projects I'm doing moving forward, like it shows for people that are growing up like me, mixed, which is a big group of people right now, a big demographic. They now seeing representation.
Yeah, which is important.
But I guess hopefully we all can be represented without hurting another
Right.
You know, like your daughter. That's bad that she says there's no black couples anymore.
Right,
that's not good.
Right.
That's not good. And me growing up was like I see nobody like me.
Right.
You know, so there's got to be a balance.
Because the only thing, now that you say that, I'm like the only interracial couple I can think of was the Jeffersons. Was Tom and Lenny Kravitz's mom.
Yeah. So that's the only one. But I feel like now, like you're seeing commercials. Next, you're going to see TV shows.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I'm not talking white and black. I'm talking people like my mom and dad, black and Asian.
Right.
You know, because not everything is black and white. Like it's so funny when they do an interracial couple. It's always a white person on TV and a black person.
Right.
It's never like a black person and a Latina.
Right.
You know, or an Asian. It's always has
whoever the person of color is represents for all the races, and that's I've been a big advocate of, you know what, there are other, when you do POCs or people of color, you know, you can have a black person, and I'm happy to see that, but there are other races that should get represented as well. And that's what I was proud of, or I am proud of my special on Netflix with Tiffany, because that was my goal. Was I want to be funny, but I like saying something. And you know, so I think y'all can see it on Netflix.
Please watch it.
Tiffany Haddish presents They Ready Season 2 Episode 6, and I talk about them redoing Under the Sea. What's the Little Mermaid?
Little Mermaid,
right?
yeah.
But I talk about how people got offended when they announced there was going to be a black woman playing Ariel, and I'm like, it's a fictional character. So I'm like, it's a Disney princess, and how about we have some inclusion where little black girls, or little Asian girls, little Latina girls, can see themselves and dream of that lie of being a princess.
I just feel like certain part of society feels like you're taking things away from them.
Right. You said that. Yo,
you know I know what I'm doing.
Eloquently.
You know how
he's a professional. He said
right.
Certain members of society
feel like you're taking away from them rather than adding. If you're taking this away from me, you're not adding nothing. But what you are adding is a better world where people can see representation of themselves. So this part of society has always been seen on camera. So now it's other people's turn to be seen. And you're not going away because you own everything.
Right.
So, I mean, that's what it is right there. I want to talk more about you. How'd you link up with Tiffany Haddish to do this Netflix special that people can watch episode 6 on season 2.
Yeah, Tiffany and I just been, I've known Tiffany since probably 03-ish, like we met. And, you know, Tiffany just has been a champion and really true to her word. She said, you know, when I get on, I'm gonna help the people who helped me coming up. And, you know, from myself to Godfrey to Barbara Carlisle, Ida Rodriguez, you know, they were like season 1 were all people that actually she was on the road with that came up with her.
Gotcha.
Season 2 were people that all had a hand in helping her.
That's great.
At some point in her career, or people she just really dug, like Kimberly Clark, Aaron Jackson. Tony Woods was someone that
he's a legend.
Legendary, right? And so she reaches out. Tiffany, last, you know, right at the beginning of the pandemic, one of my kids was graduating from high school, and everybody's, you know, miserable because who wants to graduate? You missed all of your senior activities, and I put a call out we were doing a Zoom to try and make, you know, do something special, and I reached out to Anthony Anderson. He said, "Here, I'll send the video, and you know, and we're gonna make sure she feels loved." You know, shout out to Anthony, man. And then I called Tiffany. And I said, we're doing a Zoom and we're just going to put together montage. She's like, I don't want to be on no montage. I want to be on the Zoom. I was like, word. And she came on and, you know, just something special, man.
Let me tell you something. What's so special about Tiffany.
Yeah.
If she can, she still makes it out to pretty much every Laugh Factory, Thanksgiving, and Christmas, because they give out free food to people that don't have family around or people that can't afford it. And because that's how she came up. And she's so loyal to that. And that's what makes her so special. I don't know her that well. I mean, we know each She sees me, she knows me. I know her, of course. But to see the love she puts back in the industry it's pretty amazing. And when I hear so many, and me and Tiffany talked about it before, there were so many negative comments about her, stand up and this and that, and people just hating. And it goes, you don't see the real person. That's what you see on film. But man, if you could see the real person that's behind this, you wouldn't have.
And to me, that's what's beautiful about, you know, Tiffany Haddish and her faith, which you know, sort of reinforces other people. It should reinforce other people's faith because, in my opinion, the gift of life is to give and to give without end, right? And so if you constantly are giving of yourself, it comes back to 10, 100-fold. And she's not giving, and none of us should give saying, I'm gonna do this, but karmically I want this. No, you put it out there. And what she did was amazing because, you know, when they first came to her, when Netflix first came to her, and this to me, this was dope. They came to her and they wanted her to do special. She wasn't really into it, and they offered more. And she said, you know, well, what if we split this in half and I get to do mine, but then we use the rest of this money to produce specials for my friends, and they also are EP executive producers on those specials as well. They said no at first. She was like, all right, fine, walked away, and they were like, no. And so she empowered, she's now in 2 seasons, she's empowered 12 comics, 12 stand-up comedians to not only present the best versions of themselves as stand-ups, but also to become producers. And so when you go to IMDb, you see Dean Edwards, actor, Dean Edwards, writer, Dean Edwards, you know what I mean? And so
that's beautiful.
That's beautiful, man. And I think honestly, she really raised the bar and made other comics that are out there that are successful say, oh, you know what, I got to do that too. And now, which is wonderful, right? Because now you see Chappelle producing specials for Quake. And Donnell has something coming out. And, you know, I think Tony's doing one and Lunella doing them. And Billy Burr, you know, he's done Ian Edwards, you know.
Jessica Curson,
you know what I mean? So it's like, that's how it should be, because this is it's challenging in an industry, especially if you are more mature, right? You know, someone like a Barbara Carlisle, the industry wasn't showing her the love that they should have, and she's been doing this since the late 70s. And Tiffany said, no, I want to make sure the industry knows who this woman is. I want them to know that all of these people do have something to say. And we did it during the pandemic. She called me August 2020, 6 months none of us were on stage, and she said, let me call people I know can pull this off during a pandemic, socially distanced, masks on the audience, shooting it outdoors, and when we first shot it, we shot it in front of Long Beach Terrace Theater, which is where Pryor shot live in concert. And so we did some things on stage. We did a roundtable discussion, which is episode 7, but all of our episodes were they built a stage in front of the theater. Shout out to Paige Hurwitz, who directed and first night we shot 2 nights in a row. So Friday night, I'm the first comic on, and I go on, and 2 loud motorcycles drowned out punchlines, and then a light went out, and I'm dark, and it's nighttime, so I'm like, all right, I guess I'll just play to this side, and then and Godfrey had a helicopter go while he, but
it's outside.
But the beauty of that, and everything I believe happens for a reason, is we did that, and then we were all prepared for the worst. So when we shot the second night, and we flip-flopped, so Godfrey went first, I went 6th, and everybody was ready, and like all turbines, all systems a go, and everybody put their feet down and gave the world something special, man.
That's awesome, man. Yeah. Well, our time is up because we keep these things short. But thanks for the stories. What can people see on Netflix season 2?
They Ready season 2 episode 6. You can catch me every Monday night. We do something. We've had you on, Michael. I have something on IG Live called the Father Muckin Protocol live cast. This Monday, actually, we have Godfrey is on.
Oh, great.
I have Andrew Schultz is going to be a guest soon. Billy Burr's coming. I still call him Billy. I'm not calling him Bill because I knew him when he was Billy. And we've had everybody from Sebastian Maniscalco to Jim Gaffigan. We just had like these great performers come on, casting directors, Twinkie Bird, Bob Summer, producers.
I love Twinkie.
Yeah, like so many great stories. They're all on my page at I am Dean Edwards. And because I honestly believe that we all have something special in our journey that we can share with people, similar to you doing this. You get to share, and I know there's someone out there that'll watch this and hopefully be inspired, because that's why we do this.
That's right. Well, Dean Edwards, thank you so much.
Respect.
Oh, your IG, it's just
my Instagram is at I am Dean Edwards. IAM Dean Edwards.
All right.
Because that's who I am.
There you go. And keep watching my YouTube special.
Yeah.
And I appreciate all the love. We'll see you next time.